The weight of the house was a physical thing. It pressed down on Anna, a suffocating silence that absorbed all the light from the floor-to-ceiling windows. This house, a modernist glass cube perched on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, was supposed to be the prize. Instead, it was a beautiful, echoing tomb for a dying marriage. Anna traced the rim of her untouched glass of artisanal water. Across the 20-foot imported marble dining table sat Mark. His face, handsome and chiseled, was half obscured by the glow of his tablet. He wasn't working. He was reading financial news, utterly detached, his body language a fortress of casual indifference. "I saw that the Jensens are back from Mykonos," Anna offered, her voice sounding thin and brittle in the vast space. It was a pathetic conversational toss, and she knew it. Mark didn't look up. "Are they? Good for them. Their portfolio is looking strong." Anna gripped the glass tighter. "I meant, perhaps we should invite them over, a small dinner party. It's been months since we had anyone here." This time, Mark lowered the tablet, but the act offered no warmth. His eyes, cold blue and analytical, fixed on her. "Anna, darling, be realistic. When was the last time the Jensens, or anyone of genuine social currency, accepted one of your invitations? They don't want quiet dinners. They want the buzz. They want the scene." The word scene hung in the air, lacerating. It was his latest critique, his most refined form of cruelty. Mark, the wonderkind of global tech finance, had climbed the professional ladder with ferocious speed. Now he was looking down and finding his wife insufficient for the altitude. She was good enough for the quiet first years, for the struggle, but she wasn't it for the billion-dollar bracket. She wasn't the sparkling hostess, the effortless connector, the one who commanded a room full of power brokers. She was just Anna. "I just thought with your big acquisition coming up," she began, but Mark cut her off with a curt wave of his hand. "The acquisition is mine, the leverage is mine. Your role is supportive, Anna, and frankly, your social calendar is a liability. It's empty. It makes us look small, provincial." He picked his tablet back up, the conversation dismissed. "I'll be working late, don't wait up." Anna sat in the silence for another hour, the expensive gourmet meal cooling on the plate. Small, provincial. The words were anchors dragging her down into a sea of inadequacy. She loved Mark, but more terrifyingly, she was addicted to his approval. She was terrified of becoming the cliché of the discarded first wife, given a generous settlement and forgotten. That night, alone in their cavernous master suite, Anna didn't cry. She stared at her reflection. She saw the desperation, but underneath, a steel rod of resolve began to form. She wouldn't be discarded. She wouldn't be small. If she couldn't naturally conjure the social scene Mark craved, she would manufacture it. She had the one thing Mark respected above all else: money. The idea was born from shame and fueled by a terrifying, desperate love. It took 3 days of deep, encrypted searching, filtering out the blatant escorts and the sugar baby sites. She was looking for something more sophisticated, more tailored. She finally found it buried deep in the dark web's periphery, a concierge service marketed with unnerving discretion as the Social Architects. The website was minimalist, black on black, devoid of pictures, brimming with chillingly professional copy. "We curate your environment, we provide the missing variables, we build the influence you deserve." Her initial contact was a man named Silas. The meeting was set up with the precision of a black ops mission, a nondescript executive box at a nondescript sports stadium. Silas was everything Mark was not: soft-spoken, unremarkable, dressed in the kind of charcoal gray suit that seemed designed to absorb light. He didn't ask what she did or who her husband was. He asked only one question, his voice a low hum. "What is the effect you wish to achieve, Mrs. Anna?" She had given only her first name. Anna swallowed, the lie tasting like rust in her mouth. "My husband, he has reached a point where his network must expand laterally. We need a vibrant social circle, people with influence, people who generate buzz." She couldn't bring herself to say, "My husband thinks I'm boring, and I need to pay people to make me interesting." Silas smiled, a thin, knowing expression. "The price of authentic influence is high, Anna. Authenticity, when constructed, is always costly. We can provide 2 exceptional assets for you. They are masters of atmosphere. They are charming. They are connected. They will seamlessly integrate into your life and become the gravity around which your new scene forms." "And the cost?" she whispered. Silas produced a simple leather folio. The number printed on the page made Anna gasp. It was more than the annual salary of her husband's top vice president. It was an appalling sum for a fabricated friendship. It includes their expenses, their wardrobe, the necessary props, and the silence agreement. Silas explained, tapping the paper. They are yours for 6 months. They are friends who will never betray the contract. But you, Anna, must never betray their presence to anyone, especially not to your husband. Anna looked at the number, then at the memory of Mark's cold, dismissive eyes. The shame of the purchase was immense, but the shame of her current life was infinitely worse. I accept, she said, signing the document and immediately initiating a wire transfer from her private inheritance trust. 2 days later, they arrived, not at the front door, but seemingly manifesting at the fringes of her life as if by organic social introduction, just as Silas had promised. First was Chloe. She burst into Anna's life at a high-end charity auction Anna was attending alone. Chloe, a whirlwind of platinum hair and effortless glamour, was draped in vintage designer wear that looked both impossibly expensive and utterly casual. "Oh, darling, I thought that was you. I was just telling Liam that you simply must be the most chic woman in this hideous room." Chloe didn't just talk, she performed. Her voice had an intoxicating husky cadence. She knew everyone, or at least pretended to do so with such convincing theater that others believed it. Within 5 minutes, Chloe had introduced Anna to a film producer, an ambassador's wife, and a notoriously private tech investor. Anna, usually tongue-tied, felt a strange, intoxicating permission to shine under Chloe's dazzling spotlight. The next day, Liam appeared. He was the antithesis of Chloe's electric energy, quiet, deeply tailored, and possessing an aura of controlled old-money wealth. He met Anna, coincidentally, at her favorite obscure art gallery. Liam spoke in cultured, low tones, his conversation weaving effortlessly between market analysis, classical architecture, and the latest ethical failures of Silicon Valley. He was the connector, the serious one. He spent the first hour not talking about himself, but asking Anna shrewd, validating questions about her taste and Mark's vision, making her feel intelligent and seen for the first time in years. By the end of the week, the arrangement was complete. Chloe was the fun, the glittering invitations, the champagne toasts, the spontaneous trips. Liam was the substance, the introductions to key figures, the insightful advice, the veneer of intellectual depth. Together, they were the perfect cinematographers for Anna's life. Anna's heart pounded with a terrifying mix of elation and dread. She was living a beautiful, expensive lie. When Mark came home that Friday evening, everything had changed. He walked into a home buzzing with the kind of electric, low-key energy it hadn't possessed in years. Chloe was there, perched elegantly on a sofa, detailing an outrageous story about a high-roller poker game. Liam was standing by the wet bar, engaged in an earnest, quiet conversation with a prominent venture capitalist whom Anna had never managed to get Mark to meet. Mark paused in the doorway, his eyes sweeping the room, registering the expensive clothes, the effortless conversation, and most importantly, the presence of the VC. His fortress of indifference cracked. A slow, predatory smile spread across his face. "Mark, darling," Anna called, a genuine, delighted warmth in her voice that stunned even herself. "You remember Liam, and this is Chloe. They've saved us from being provincial for the next couple of months, it seems." Liam immediately broke off his conversation and extended a hand to Mark, exuding respect and quiet admiration. "Mark, an honor. I've been tracking your work in quantum logistics for 2 years, truly pioneering. I was just telling the great Mr. Holloway here that you're the most undervalued man in the valley." The flattery, delivered with Liam's serious authority, was potent. Mark's posture straightened. He was being admired, validated, and given a social boost, all without his wife lifting a finger, or so he thought. Chloe fluttered over and kissed Mark on the cheek. "Mark, you're utterly divine. We're dragging Anna to a rooftop gallery opening tonight, something terribly avant-garde and full of noise. You simply must come. Holloway is coming. Everyone who matters will be there." Mark glanced at the beaming Anna, to the effortlessly cool Chloe and Liam, then back to the powerful Mr. Holloway, who was now nodding approvingly. The coldness was gone, replaced by a flicker of pride and a calculating interest. "Well," he said, loosening his tie, a genuine spark in his eyes for the first time in months, "it seems my wife has finally found her footing." Anna felt a rush of vindication so intense it almost drowned out the small, terrified voice in her soul. It was working. She had bought the scene, and Mark had instantly responded to the counterfeit glamour. But when she looked at Liam and Chloe, a new sharp sense of unease pierced the triumph.
Chloe's smile was too wide, too knowing. Liam's handshake with Mark lingered just a moment too long. They weren't just actors, they were observers. And Anna was now trapped in the most dangerous role of all, the director of a life she couldn't control, indebted to two strangers whose true script she didn't know. The weight of the secret, paid for in gold, was beginning to feel heavier than the weight of the silence ever had.
The euphoria Anna felt the night Mark smiled at her lasted exactly 1 week. In those 7 days, the house was alive. There were spontaneous late-night gatherings, whispered conversations about multi-million-dollar deals, and the constant, glittering presence of Chloe and Liam. Mark was a different man, engaged, proud, and often laughing. He treated Anna with a newfound, almost theatrical affection, a performance of partnership only possible because she was now backed by the two dazzling accessories she had paid for. But the price of their presence was immediate and unsettling. "Darling, we need to talk logistics," Chloe purred one afternoon, lounging poolside while Anna nervously flipped through invoices. "Liam and I are exhausted. We're working around the clock to create this social gravity for you. Our time is simply not best spent driving that ghastly, basic sedan your driver uses." Chloe named a black imported luxury SUV, a specific model used by top-tier CEOs for discreet travel. Anna balked. I can't just buy a car on a whim, Chloe." Chloe's eyes, usually warm and mischievous, hardened. "Oh, but you can. Think of it as overhead. Mark is about to close the biggest deal of his career, correct? We are his leverage. Does a man of his stature allow his leverage to arrive in anything less than impeccable style? It reflects poorly on you, Anna. It shows a lack of commitment to the scene." It was a perfectly delivered blackmail, smooth, polite, and based entirely on Anna's fear of Mark's judgment. The fear won. Within 48 hours, the car was sitting in the driveway, registered to a shell company in the Cayman Islands as per Liam's cool suggestion. Liam's demands were more subtle, more insidious, and always related to Mark. He didn't ask for material things, he asked for access. "Mark is brilliant, Anna," Liam stated one evening, watching Mark hold court with a group of investors, "but his vision is ahead of his legal infrastructure. I noticed his team is using a rather outdated, encrypted file storage system. A friend of mine, a cybersecurity genius, was recently burned by that exact platform. Could you possibly give me the name of Mark's CTO? Just a friendly warning, of course." Anna felt a chill. She knew the names of Mark's top team members were strictly guarded. "I don't know if I can just give out personnel details, Liam. That's Mark's business." Liam fixed her with a look of wounded sincerity. "Anna, after all we've done this week, the introductions, the atmosphere, the risk we take on behalf of your happiness, you can't trust me with a name? I'm trying to protect Mark. I want to see him succeed. If he fails, our beautiful arrangement fails too." He made it sound like a loving, shared effort. Anna reluctantly provided the CTO's first name, convincing herself it was harmless. The demands escalated. The office visit. Chloe insisted she needed to see the architecture of Mark's office downtown to plan an impromptu VIP luncheon. Once inside, Chloe spent 5 unsupervised minutes by Mark's usually locked private desk, ostensibly admiring a trophy. The document retrieval. Liam asked Anna to retrieve a specific non-disclosure agreement from a locked cabinet in the master bedroom, claiming a clerical error might void Mark's ability to use a crucial patent. Anna, terrified of Mark's potential ruin, risked the key and left the NDA with Liam for a single hour. When she got it back, it looked untouched, but a faint crease near the staple suggested it had been photocopied or scanned. Anna was no longer enjoying her fabricated social life. She was living in a state of perpetual anxiety, terrified of Mark finding out her secret, and terrified of what Chloe and Liam were asking her to do. They weren't friends. They were glorified, highly paid spies, and she was their unwitting handler. The true moment of sickening dread occurred on a Saturday night. Mark, completely enamored with the new social scene, had left Anna alone with Liam and Chloe for the weekend to fly to Singapore for an emergency meeting, a trip Anna knew nothing about until the last minute. Anna was sipping a glass of wine, staring out at the inky ocean, when she heard the voices from the closed library door, Chloe and Liam, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. They thought Anna was asleep.
"The files confirm it. The Helios acquisition is happening next quarter, not next year like the public chatter. He's front-loading the capital now. We need the final encrypted codes for the offshore transfer now before the bank holiday."
"I can't get the codes. Anna, she's too jumpy about his laptop. He's running a different encryption pattern on his private terminal. She's useless for this final phase. It's too late for subtle pressure."
The subtle pressure has worked beautifully. We now have access to his personnel, his legal documents, and his itinerary. We know the deadline. Now we move. You have to get her out of the house for 48 hours. The client is becoming impatient. Tell her a ridiculous story. Tell her we found her mother's long-lost diamond brooch in Monte Carlo. I don't care. Just get her gone."
Anna stumbled backward, clamping a hand over her mouth to stifle a cry. The wineglass slipped from her fingers, shattering silently on the thick library carpet. This wasn't about Mark's social standing. This was about the Helios acquisition. This was corporate espionage. Chloe and Liam weren't just embarrassing her, they were destroying Mark's career and using her, the desperate, inadequate wife, as their primary tool. She hadn't bought friends, she had bought sabotage. Anna fled to the guest wing, locking the door. She didn't sleep. The fragments of overheard conversation played on a loop. The client is becoming impatient. Chloe and Liam weren't independent con artists, they were working for a rival. Mark wasn't just working late, he was fighting a corporate war, and his supportive wife was unwittingly feeding intelligence to the enemy. She remembered every look, every demand, every moment she had convinced herself she was doing the right thing for her marriage. The new SUV was to transport stolen data discreetly. The NDA retrieval was to confirm patent ownership before a counteroffer. The question about the CTO was to identify the weakest link in Mark's defense. Anna saw the full horror of her betrayal. She had paid a monstrous sum for the opportunity to ruin the man she loved, all out of a desperate, foolish need for his approval. She had to warn him. She had to confess her humiliation and stop them. But Chloe and Liam were still in the house, undoubtedly planning her ridiculous story to get her out of the way. She couldn't call Mark. He was in Singapore, and a frantic call about paid spies would sound like the raving of a woman having a nervous breakdown, exactly the outcome Mark had already hinted at. Anna's resolve hardened, replacing fear with a cold, terrifying purpose. She had to gather evidence, real, physical evidence, not just an overheard snippet. She needed to know who the client was. She had to turn the tools of the spies against them, and she had to do it before Chloe could tell her she was going on a spontaneous trip to Monte Carlo. Anna moved with a chilling, surgical quiet. The adrenaline of hearing the truth had burned away the last remnants of her emotional paralysis. There was no time for guilt, only action. She knew she couldn't risk leaving the house. If she disappeared, Liam would seize the opportunity to execute their plan. If she confronted them, they would simply deny everything, knowing Mark would believe their polished word over her frantic accusations of paid friends. The immediate problem was Chloe. Anna found her in the kitchen, already humming and mixing an elaborate cocktail. "Morning, sleepyhead. I have the most ridiculous news. My godmother, the one who collects jewels in drama, is hosting an impromptu yacht party in Monte Carlo. You and I simply must fly out this afternoon. Shopping, sun, and an urgent need to escape this dreary coast." Anna forced a bright, delighted smile. "Chloe, darling, that sounds utterly divine, but I can't. Mark called this morning. He needs me to handle a crucial last-minute audit here before he finalizes the Singapore deal. He made it sound like an emergency." Chloe's cocktail shaker paused mid-shake. Her smile faltered, replaced by a flicker of pure, naked frustration. "An audit? Anna, don't be absurd. You couldn't audit a grocery list. Tell him you're going. He'll never know the difference." "I know," I laughed, injecting just the right amount of dismissive wifely annoyance. "But you know Mark, he gets fixated. Besides, I told him you two were going to help me with the paperwork. He was so grateful for your help." The lie was genius. By involving Chloe and Liam in her fabricated audit, she instantly neutralized their ability to insist she leave the property. If they tried to ditch the audit, they risked confirming to Mark that they were unreliable, or worse, that they had an agenda. Chloe reluctantly backed down. Her eyes narrowed in cold calculation. "Fine," Chloe snapped, dropping this sophisticated facade for a terrifying instant. "But don't slow us down. Liam and I have calls to make." Anna's immediate focus was the encrypted codes Liam had mentioned.
She knew Mark used a separate, highly secure laptop in his home office, which was locked with a fingerprint scanner and a sophisticated retina scan. It was impenetrable to her. However, she remembered a small, highly specialized router Liam had insisted on setting up to boost the Wi-Fi for our video calls. Liam had been meticulous about where it was placed, directly beneath Mark's main home server. Using her own basic laptop, Anna crept back into Mark's office late that night. Liam and Chloe were in their respective guest suites, likely communicating with the client. The router wasn't a Wi-Fi booster, Anna realized with a sickening jolt. It was a packet sniffer, a covert device designed to intercept and record all data passing between Mark's computer and the outside world. Liam, the serious entrepreneur, had made one mistake. He had configured the device using a recognizable open-source interface. Anna, who had spent years handling small administrative tasks for Mark's initial startups, knew enough basic networking to find the interface through a standard IP address search. She found the login page. It was password protected. Frustration nearly overwhelmed her. But then she remembered Liam's pattern. He was sophisticated, but vain. She typed architect. Failed. She typed social currency. Failed. Finally, she typed authentic influence. Success. The router's dashboard opened, revealing a relentless fire hose of captured data. She filtered through months of logs looking for recent, massive data transfers. The sheer volume was impossible to decipher, but one pattern was distinct: a recurring encrypted connection established every morning at 3 a.m., lasting exactly 5 minutes, and transferring a large burst of data to a single, stable IP address. She copied the IP address and the connection data, storing it on a clean USB drive. She needed to identify the address. Anna had a single, dangerous connection outside of her gilded cage: her elderly, recently retired college professor, Dr. Elias Thorne, a brilliant, eccentric cryptography expert who owed her a favor for years of dedicated research assistance. The next morning, while Chloe was loudly arranging flower deliveries and Liam was on a private call, Anna slipped out, driving the new black SUV, which now felt like a tool of her own covert war. She met Dr. Thorne in a dusty university library archive. He looked at the printout with the IP address, his eyes gleaming behind thick spectacles. Fascinating, Anna. A proprietary encryption scheme. Very sophisticated. And this IP, it's a dedicated private server farm registered in Luxembourg. He worked for an hour, hushed over his laptop, while Anna watched the door, heart pounding. Finally, he straightened up. The IP address is cloaked, but the registry trail leads to a holding company called Phoenix Investments. The directors are deliberately obscured, but I found one recurring name in the legal filings for their local counsel: Jeremy Vance. The name hit Anna like a physical blow. Jeremy Vance wasn't a stranger. He was Mark's former mentor and bitter rival. Vance, a brilliant, arrogant man who Mark had humiliated years ago by poaching his top clients, now ran his own hostile investment group. Mark had always considered Vance his most dangerous competitor. The puzzle snapped into place. Vance was the client. He hadn't been watching Mark. He had been buying an inside track to destroy Mark's biggest deal, the Helios acquisition, and he was doing it using Mark's own home, Mark's own wife, and the very insecurity Mark had inflicted upon her. Anna was a corporate sabotager, manipulated by a bitter rival and funded by the desperate love she felt for her husband. Anna returned to the house, the USB drive clutched tightly in her hand, the truth a cold weight in her stomach. She now had proof of the espionage and the identity of the client. She had what she needed to expose Chloe and Liam, but the fear returned, stronger this time. If she presented the router data and the IP address to Mark, she would also have to confess the terrible truth. She bought the friends. Her confession would provide Mark with all the ammunition Vance needed. Mark could easily spin the story. My wife Anna became unstable due to my success. She hired con artists and spies who successfully sabotaged my deal. She is financially irresponsible and emotionally erratic. He could walk away clean, with his career intact, and she would be left with the shame and the settlements, exactly the discarded first wife he had always threatened she would become. Anna needed a way to expose the plot without exposing her role in hiring the spies. She had to let the plan proceed just far enough to catch Chloe, Liam, and potentially Vance in the act stealing the final codes. She had to become a triple agent, using her intimate knowledge of Mark's routines and the spy's demands to set a trap. Anna walked into the kitchen. Chloe was on her phone, laughing. "Chloe," Anna said, her voice clear and calm, "I think Mark is paranoid about this audit. He told me he's moving the final transfer codes from the online system to a physical drive in his office safe. He wants me to finalize the key passwords before he calls from Singapore." Chloe's eyes went wide. She knew this was the final, critical piece of the puzzle. This was the moment the Helios acquisition could be won or lost. "Excellent, darling," she breathed, her charm back in full force. "Liam and I will help you with those complicated numbers. We're here for you, remember?" Anna smiled. "I know you are. But Mark's safe is complicated. We'll have to wait until late tonight to work on the combination. He gets very particular about timing." Anna was offering them the bait. She was giving them the exact window Liam had demanded, late tonight, when Mark was far away and the house was quiet. The trap was set. Now she just had to pray she wasn't walking into a deeper, far more devastating betrayal.
Anna felt like an actress on a razor's edge. She spent the early evening playing the distracted, slightly overwhelmed wife, complaining about the complicated numbers Mark wanted her to review. She even made sure to leave a briefcase conspicuously placed near Mark's home office safe, claiming it contained the sensitive password data she was struggling to decipher. The key to her trap was not the briefcase, but the office safe itself. Mark had a secondary, rarely used security feature on the safe, an internal alarm that triggered a discreet notification to his private security email, an email Chloe and Liam wouldn't be monitoring. Anna leave the basic safe combination, their wedding anniversary, but she knew that if anyone attempted the wrong combination 3 times, the system would silently notify Mark's security team and begin a mandatory 5-minute lockdown. Anna's plan was simple. Give them the bait, let them try to steal it, and catch them in the act of failure. She feigned exhaustion and announced she was going to bed at 10 p.m., claiming she was too tired to face the safe's complexities. "The codes are ready, Chloe, darling," she said, handing her a genuine folder of Mark's old, innocuous financial projections. "I just need a clear head in the morning to input them. Don't worry about me. I'm utterly useless after 10. Liam nodded, his gaze flat and calculating. "Of course, Anna. Rest well. We'll keep the house quiet." Anna went to the master suite, but she didn't sleep. She sat in the dark, monitoring the internal house security app on her phone. She watched the glowing dots of Chloe and Liam settle into their rooms, and then slowly emerge just after midnight. At 12:15 a.m., the 2 dots converged on Mark's office. Anna silently rose and crept down the hallway, stopping just outside the office door, which was left ajar. She didn't need to see, she needed to hear.
"She bought it. She's pathetic. The codes must be in the safe or on the laptop. Mark's private terminal is still on the charging cradle."
The safe first. The laptop encryption is too tight. Use the combination she gave you. It's their anniversary, isn't it?
A few moments of clicking, then a frustrated sigh.
"It's not working. The anniversary is invalid."
Try the second one. The address of their first apartment. She must have misremembered.
Anna checked her phone. The security system had just sent the notification. Attempt 2, invalid.
"Damn it! Liam, we don't have time. Vance wants those transfer codes before the markets open in Singapore. We try one more, then we take the laptop. Use the corporate key, Mark's mother's maiden name."
Fine. If this locks us out, we go for the drive.
Anna saw the alert flash on her phone. Attempt 3, lockdown initiated. Alert to administrator. Now was her chance. She knew the safe was locked for 5 minutes, and they would likely turn their attention to the laptop or the briefcase. Anna pushed the door open, snapping on the main office light. Chloe and Liam froze, illuminated by the harsh overhead light. Chloe stood hunched over the safe, her elegant facade shattered by panic. Liam was already reaching for the briefcase Anna had placed on the desk. "Don't touch that," Anna said, her voice shaking but steady. She felt a sickening wave of fear, facing down 2 professional criminals. but the greater betrayal of Mark propelled her forward. Liam slowly withdrew his hand. "Anna, what are you doing?" "We were just trying to help you with the audit, like you asked. The safe combination is defective." "Stop lying," Anna said, walking toward the desk. She picked up the innocuous folder Chloe had been holding. "This is not the Helios transfer codes. These are Mark's 2017 tax returns. And that safe combination is not defective. It's their real anniversary, the one Mark only ever uses for personal things. You didn't know it because you are not his friends. You are spies." Chloe laughed, a brittle, ugly sound. "And what does that make you, Anna? A genius? A detective?" She picked up a heavy bronze paperweight, her eyes turning murderous. "It makes me the woman who hired you." Anna spat the words out, tasting the shame. "I paid Silas with my inheritance to buy the scene my husband craved. I thought you were just actors, but I know who you really work for, Liam. Vance." Liam's reaction was terrifyingly calm. He looked at Chloe and shrugged. "Show's over, Chloe. She knows." He looked at Anna with professional contempt. "Very resourceful, Anna. Pity you didn't check your own hiring contract. We're excellent at what we do. Vance guaranteed us double our fee if we could get the final codes before dawn." Anna held up the USB drive containing the IP address. "You won't get them. I've traced your IP. I have the proof. I've sent everything to Mark's private security team. They will be here within minutes. Tell me everything. Who gets the codes when you steal them? Who is the contact in Singapore?" Chloe dropped the paperweight, her eyes fixed on Anna, no longer calculating, but genuinely startled. "You actually called security? Anna, you idiot. You have no idea what you've done." Before Chloe could finish, the main office door burst open. It wasn't the security team. It was Mark. He stood there, impeccably dressed in his travel clothes, his face rigid not with shock, but with livid fury. Behind him stood two men Anna didn't recognize, suit-clad, stone-faced, and clearly his personal security detail. Mark was not in Singapore. He had been across town, waiting. Anna turned, relief flooding her, about to rush to him and confess everything. "Mark, thank God, they work for Vance. I tried to stop them. I know I hired them, but I was trying to—" Mark raised a hand, silencing her. His eyes were focused entirely on Chloe and Liam, ignoring Anna as if she were a piece of furniture. "They failed," Mark said, his voice flat with cold disappointment. 3 failed attempts. Sloppy. Liam looked at Mark, his face a mask of fear mixed with confusion. "Sir, Mark, what are you doing here? She said you were in Singapore." Mark finally looked at Anna, and the look of utter disdain was worse than any of his previous coldness. "She lied about the audit to keep you here, Liam. She was trying to protect me. Isn't that right, Anna?" Mark smiled, a cruel, triumphant smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "You see, Anna, my inadequacy was a problem you were desperate to solve, and I gave you the perfect solution." Mark stepped past Anna, moving toward Chloe and Liam. "Chloe, Liam, you played the roles perfectly. The social butterflies, the corporate spies, all marvelous theater. Anna bought the entire production." Anna stared at the 3 of them, a slow, horrifying realization dawning. "The Helios codes," Mark said, gesturing to the briefcase Anna had been guarding. "They were never in the safe, and Vance wasn't supposed to get them. I was supposed to sell them to Vance." Mark turned back to Anna, delivering the final blow. "You didn't think you were enough, Anna. Not enough to stand beside me, and certainly not enough to divorce quietly. I needed leverage. So I fabricated the perfect scenario. I made you feel inadequate, then I pointed you toward the social architects, a service, Anna, that I partially own. Chloe and Liam don't work for Vance. They work for me." The truth hit Anna with the force of a physical blow, stealing her breath. "My goal was never to fix our social life. It was to frame you." His face was utterly devoid of emotion.
You, in your desperation to please me, hired 2 known corporate saboteurs, illegally funded their lifestyle with my assets, and tried to compromise the Helios deal. Your own confession, your paranoia, your reckless spending on these friends, it all proves instability. You are an easily discarded first wife who tried to ruin my empire. I walk away with my reputation, the acquisition, and the full sympathy of the board. You get a generous but controlled settlement. You were never enough for me, but you were the perfect fall guy. Anna looked at Chloe and Liam, the friends she had paid an obscene amount of money for. Chloe's eyes held pity, Liam's only calculation. They were not spies for a rival. They were Mark's operatives hired to enact the precise scenario that would destroy her life and marriage. Her desperation was not the fuel of her rescue. It was the engine of her ruin. Mark clapped his hands once, sharply. "Clean this up." "And Anna," he said, turning to his now shattered wife, "I suggest you pack. You have exactly 1 hour before the official paperwork hits the news desk. You were never enough for me." Anna didn't pack. She didn't cry. The paralysis was gone, replaced by a cold, searing clarity. Mark had engineered her destruction, but he had overlooked one crucial detail. She was no longer the insecure woman who had signed the contract. She was the one who traced the IP address, outwitted the professionals, and knew the truth. The truth was her only weapon. As Mark's security men ushered Chloe and Liam out, Anna walked calmly to the desk. "You forgot something, Mark," she said, her voice low and steady. "The router." Mark paused. "The Wi-Fi booster? It's irrelevant now." "No. Liam set up a packet sniffer, but I logged into its interface. I saw the logs. I saw the nightly data transfer to the Luxembourg server, and I know the server is registered to Phoenix Investments." Mark scoffed. "And what does that prove? That Vance was trying to hack me? We all know that." "It proves that Vance was trying to hack you," Anna corrected. "But I also saw two-way traffic. I copied the logs of your outgoing data stream, your instructions to Chloe and Liam, the direct wire transfers to them from the Phoenix Investments shell company to pay them for the sabotage you commissioned, and the final recorded communication where you promised Vance a discount on the Helios deal for providing you with the perfect blackmail scenario." Anna lifted the USB drive, which she had carefully copied the data onto before leaving the library. "The server is Vance, but the data logs prove that you, Mark, a top CEO, used a shell company owned by your most dangerous rival to launder funds and commission a fake corporate crime that would allow you to destroy your wife and secure your deal. That is financial conspiracy and insider training, and it's a felony." Mark's face went white. He knew his security team had only been monitoring the house for the simple, choreographed failure of the Spies. He hadn't accounted for Anna's sudden, desperate dive into his technical underworld. He hadn't accounted for Anna finding the real logs, the actual evidence of his crime. "The police are not coming for Chloe and Liam, Mark," Anna concluded, placing the USB drive gently on his desk. "They're coming for the unstable wife who tried to ruin you. But I still have a good lawyer, and now I have the evidence to prove that you, Mark, a man who thought I was not enough, committed a serious felony to escape your marriage." Anna walked toward the door, turning one last time. "You forgot something, Mark. You thought your desperation would be your weapon, but my desperation led me to the truth. And the truth, unlike your friends, is not something you can control." 2 hours later, Anna was in a quiet, anonymous hotel room. She sent the evidence to her lawyer. By morning, the story was not the unstable, discarded wife, but the betrayed woman who exposed her CEO husband's massive corporate fraud. Anna looked at her phone, which was ringing relentlessly. She hadn't bought friends. She had bought her own painful, expensive, but ultimately empowering freedom. She was broken, but she was no longer not enough. She was the woman who survived Mark. The phone rang again, a number she didn't recognize.